Hi, it's Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Current live blog post we want to take and share with you. Of course, we review the latest in social media and technology. And what we're doing today is we're reviewing versus phone comparisons between one powerhouse Android phone and another powerhouse Android phone. You can see all of our reviews on the ChrisVossShow.com and also our YouTube channel under Chris Voss. We have all the major phone companies sending us phones, so be sure to tune in for all the latest and greatest and coolest phones that we'll be showing you across the board. This is an AT&T.com phone. You can find them at AT&T. It's the HTC One X, and it's running on Android 4.04 version that's been updated. And this is from Verizon Mobile. Verizon Wireless.com is the place to find them. That's Verizon Wireless, and you can check it out. It's the Motorola Razr M, very super fast phone. So we'll get into some of the details about these phones. Be sure to check out both their websites. Tell them Chris Voss sent you. On the HTC One X, we're looking at dimensions of 5.3 inches in height, 2.7 width, 2.38 in thickness, with a weight of 4.75 ounces. Has a battery of 8.5 hours max, 302 hours max standby. The 8.5 is talk time, 1800 milliamp battery. Has a display of LCD color TFT resolution 720 by 1280 pixels and a 4.7 diagonal screen. Super LCD, of course. OS platform Android 4.04 and HTC Sense 4. The processor is a 1.5 Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 dual core. And this is a US version, of course. It has a 16 gigabyte internal memory, raw hardware, 12.1 gigabyte internal storage available to users, 1 gigabyte of RAM. It has an 8 megapixel back camera on it, and of course it records in 1080p, and it has a front-facing camera of 1.3 megapixel, which can record HD video. It also has HDMI out through a special jack and adapter you can get to take and plug into the sync charger to go to your HDMI TV if you so choose. So there's that with the device. Now let's go to the Motorola. We'll take a look at the specs on it. The specs on the Motorola, you're looking at 4.82 in height, 2.4 in width, and 0.33 in thickness, with a weight of 4.044 ounces. It comes with Android 4.04 on it. It's got a display size of 4.3 inches, 540 by 960 pixel screen, 256 ppi, with a Super AMOLED advanced screen. The colors are 16 million plus colors. Capacitive multi-touch screen. It comes with 20 hours of talk time, 17 days of standby time, and the capacity is a 2,000 milliamp battery. Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 processor with a dual-core 1.5 gigahertz, and you're looking at 1 gigabyte of RAM, 8 gigabytes of ROM, and the maximum user storage is usually about 4.5 gigs. You can upgrade the storage in this with a micro SD up to 32 gigabytes. It has an 8 megapixel camera on the back, 1080p of course, and on the front-facing camera it's a 0.3 megapixel VGA camera. Both cameras are really fun to play with. We've enjoyed both devices and given what they have to take and offer. Let's take a look at the bodies on each of these. Across the top you have the area for the speaker for making calls. You have a front-facing camera. You also down here have your back button, your home button, and recent apps button. One thing that did happen with the update of the 4.04 software is you were able to change this to a menu button so that when you press on it instead of recent apps, you would come up with a menu. And you can also make it so that if you double tap on it, I think, or hold it, you can get recent apps. So it's very cool that way, where you can get many different features out of the phone with the 4.04 Android update. With the Motorola, I think there's a small speaker underneath here. There appears to be something under there. There is a front-facing camera there. There's a back button, a home button, and a recent apps button. You see devices are a little bit different in their size and screen size and how much you can take and utilize. The HTC One is obviously a much larger screen you can take and play with, but the Razr definitely is designed to be a phone that's much thinner. You can see how it tapers down to a point from a larger thing, and a lot of people like the smaller, thinner device, and it has a lot of power to it. So let's look at the outsides of the backs of the phone. We're going to take a look at the back here, and what we have on the back of the phone is we have your camera eye, we have your flash lamp, Interesting thing here with this HTC One phone, they came up with some syncing cradles where you can take and plug these into the cradle and you could sync and watch TV and all this sort of weird stuff off of it. It's actually pretty cool. There's also Beats audio on here, and the speaker you can see at the bottom. I like the Beats audio feature from the HTC line. The Beats audio gives you a sound enhancement, kind of like an equalization, if you will, to your sound. I like it. You have the option of turning it off. It turns itself on automatically once you plug in your headphones. And if you have the Beats audio product, it's fun to have for enhancing the sound on the products that you own, earphones and headphones, etc. On the Motorola, it has a really nice, I think it's a Kevlar type back. It's really great in its feel and look. It has a camera right here. You have your flash lamp there. It has a speaker right here. We were a little concerned when we first got it. We're like, wow, if you sit that face down, it's probably not going to hear anything. Speaker is very loud and very powerful, and you can hear it very well. There's no muffling of the sound by putting it down on its back, so it performs extremely well in that fashion. Okay, so now here we can see the bottom of both devices. You can see on the HTC One X we've got a small microphone hole, and on the declining edge or reclining edge, whatever you want to call it, of the Motorola Droid, we've got a small microphone hole. On the top of each device we have, on the HTC One X, we have a power button. We have your earphone jack, another microphone hole, and a earphone plug. Alright, so here we can see that there's a volume rocker button here. It might be a little hard to see because it flushes in with the device really well. There's another small volume rocker here with the Motorola and a small silver power button. Flipping each device over, on the HTC One X, you can see here that we have a USB charger port right here for the HTC, and on the Motorola we have a small micro USB charger port right here. We also have a pull tab on this that once you pull it off, you can see here there's a place for your SIM card and also for the expandable up to 32 gigabyte memory that you can take and put and install here. Okay, so take a look at the software on both these devices. They each have a finite swipe to them where you can only go so far and then back again. They have a little bit different build, as you can see here on the menus and stuff. With the Motorola, if you swipe to the left, you get kind of a quick settings area where you can go in and do stuff. And then, of course, you've got the same thing you have with widgets and everything else. One thing that's interesting is with the Motorola, you can create a gallery or live wallpapers, if you will, and you can edit that. If you can see here, you can see that we've got some bubbles that are moving across the screen. Kind of a fun enhancement of the Motorola device, and kind of a cool thing that it takes and does that I liked. You, of course, can't do that on the HTC One X, but there's all sorts of other benefits to the programs. And going into the apps, the one thing that we also thought was cool with the Motorola is it has this drop-down, pull-up menu as you go through it. And you can see you can easily get to the widgets by going to the end of your apps there too. So we thought that was really smart in its design, but it's got a drop down and out and then a pull out and in sort of feature on the way it processes stuff. So we really like that setup in the OS that they have on the Motorola, and was very cool. Of course, they're both operating right now 4.04, and speed-wise on both of them, they're very speedy, as you'll see here in the coming benchmarks that we're going to be doing on each device. So let's take a look. We're going to take a look at the speed tests. We'll start off with those. On the speed test of each device and how well they did. Now we're going to be pulling from the log on the speed test. So if you notice that in the speed test the Wi-Fi is still on our devices, this is a log of the speed test. I always get people writing me on YouTube about that. So this is a log of both devices. You can see this is from the AT&T network when the Wi-Fi is off, and then this is from the Verizon network when the Wi-Fi is off, and how both devices did. They're both really powerful in their ability to process data, so you can see those results there. Now what we want to take and do is let's go to the Velamo results that we have on here, and we'll take a look as to how well those did at processing a lot of HTML5, etc., etc. You can see here that our Velamo scores on the AT&T One X came in at 1604 and 1691 for the Motorola Razr. For the Razr M, I should say, 632 for the One X and 550 for the Razr. Now, the Velamo will pull from SunSpider scripts, so you won't see us doing that benchmark. It will include that, wrapping up all the HTML5 data that's out there. So we can take a look at all of that. The next thing we're going to take a look at, we're going to look at the Antutu, and of course, once again, we're pulling from the prior logs of scores and everything that we took and did. You can see here the Antutu scores on each device and how they did. You can see the comparative breakdown of the CPU integer, CPU flow point, 2D graphics, 3D graphics, all that good stuff. Looks like the score on the HTC One X was 6686 against the 6809. You'll see that both these devices do a pretty handy job of competing with each other for just being rock and roll devices and all that good stuff as to what they both achieve. Now we're going to take a look at results using GL Benchmark 2.1 or 2.5.1. You'll get to see some of the benchmarking scores that we did here. The GL benchmark for the first score that we did came in at 2424 for the C24Z16 test, and it came in at 3202 with 28 frames per second against 21 frames per second on the HTC One X. And I'll let you just pause the video if you want to read down through the other different tests that we did. You can see how well they compared in their speed and operations with each other. Sometimes one's ahead of the other, and you can look at those numbers, see how they processed. Okay, so now here we can see the Geekbench 2 scores. Sometimes many people feel this is the ultimate in in benchmark testing for devices. You can see here the One X scored 1528 against 1446. You can see the breakdowns of integers, floating point, memory, and stream. Same thing over here on this side. We'll page down here through these, and of course you can pause it at any time if you want to see the individual numbers of the stats here between both devices. You can see the integer performance breakdown there. We'll page down. Most of these smaller numbers don't make much sense to take and see, but you can pause them if you like. Floating point performance and how they beat on each of the benchmarks. Memory performance, and then of course stream performance here. Alright, so now here you can see the Motorola and the One X in a screen test. We're testing the colors on the screen and everything. I can tell you the Motorola comes out way, way better than the One X. The green is very deep, very rich, very bright. The green on the One X almost kind of looks yellowish, sickly. The reds come out much more better. Purple is kind of about the same, and the blue is a little bit darker, and the light blue is much more pronounced. So I definitely like the screen better on the Motorola over the One X. Okay, so here we have this is the quadrant standard benchmark test, and you can see the results we got here. The device on the One X scored 4852. It's kind of funny because it scores above the HTC One X. What we find in a lot of these is these cumulative data that these guys have compiled sometimes has mixed updates in them. Some people might be on 4.04 Android, some people might be on 4.03, the original 4.0, whatever. On the Motorola, it comes in at 4899 on the test, and top of the charts also. Okay, so here we have the Passmark performance test. You can see that the One X came in at 2189 as opposed to 2099 on the Motorola. Let's go ahead and page down. We'll see with the CPU tests, they came in at 5198 as opposed to 5196. The disk test came in at 3302 compared to 3910 on the Motorola. And the memory test came in at 2202 and 2361 on the Motorola. On the One X, came in at 2297 against 2454 on the Motorola Droid. And then 3D test 746 for the One X against 635. Okay, so this is what we call the billion test, billion counter test, if you will. Counts how fast each device can count to a billion. And you can see here it's 21.11 seconds on the 1X, and on the Motorola it's 25.098 seconds. This here is a GPS test, and what it does is it determines how well each device can pick up satellites and how many satellites it can pick up, and be able to determine where it is on the planet. You can see here the 1X is getting about 19 right now, 13 in use, coming with an accuracy of 10 feet. Pretty much the same for the Motorola, 20 in view, about 11 to 13, 14 in use. It's bouncing around and picking up some extra satellites, and it comes with an accuracy of 10 feet. So great news there. Okay, so here we can see the KFS benchmarks. Basically what these do is these do a number of different systems to test the frames per second. You can see the Motorola came in at 42 frames per second roughly, and the 1X came in at 34.6 frames per second in its tests. Okay, so here we can see we've run the Antutu 3D benchmarking thing for both devices to test their 3D skills. The benchmarking result score for the 1X was 3288, I believe that is, and the score on the Motorola was 3599. Okay, so now what we're testing here is this is the AndEbench app benchmark, and what you can do is, of course, you can download these at home and play along with us with your current phone if you have an Android phone. You can see here with the AndEbenchmark, they benchmark the native and Java threads. The native threads came in at 5806 against 4694 for the Motorola. Java was 156 for the Java threads as opposed to 183 for the Motorola. Here you can see the SQL tests where the RL benchmark app that we're using for SQLite performance. You can see here how each device scored, and of course what this does is makes tables, indexes, and everything else, and comes up with a score. You can see here the score for the 1X was 27.989 seconds, and the score for the Motorola was 26.949. Okay, so now what we've done is we're doing speed tests on the hotspot ability of both phones, and both phones' ability to put out great speed. And of course some of this has to come down to do with the carriers, but you can also kind of see how this compares. Now, this is a rundown of several tests we did with the HTC One X. This is through AT&T, and we're using an Apple iPad 3 or new iPad, however you want to call it, to take and process the data. As you know, the iPad 3 is a huge data suck, so that makes a great testing thing. So here's some of our speed test results you can see for the HTC One X. Okay, so now here we can see the speed test results using the Motorola as a hotspot. So we've activated it as a hotspot, fed it to a iPad 3G, which will burn a lot of data if you give it to it. And you can see here the results we got from the Verizon network. So it processed a lot of really great data very quickly and very fast, as you can see here. All right, so here we are on a video call with the HTC One X, and you can see here we got fairly good results in the front-facing camera. Everything's going well. This is on a localized Wi-Fi internet we're feeding off to an iPad 3. So you can kind of see how well that performs and how well it looks. Okay, so here we're using the AT&T service to take and do the video call. There's some difference in the quality that we're seeing with the HTC One front-facing camera, and I don't think it's a difference of AT&T's service. It really does look like it's not quite as quality for a front-facing camera that we're getting over here on the iPad 3 that we got on the S. It could be the S is definitely faster in a lot of the benchmarking tests that we ran. But this gives you a good idea. You can compare apples to apples with this. This is running through AT&T's network, so you can see how the results are that way. Looks like both phones perform very well and very fast. Alright, so here we are on a video call with the HTC One X, and you can see here we got fairly good results in the front-facing camera. Everything's going well. This is on a localized Wi-Fi internet we're feeding off to an iPad 3. So you can kind of see how well that performs and how well it looks. Okay, so here we're using the AT&T service to take and do the video call. There's some difference in the quality that we're seeing with the HTC One front-facing camera, and I don't think it's a difference of AT&T's service. It really does look like it's not quite as quality for a front-facing camera that we're getting over here on the iPad 3 that we got on the S. It could be the S is definitely faster in a lot of the benchmarking tests that we ran, but this gives you a good idea. You can compare apples to apples with this. This is running through AT&T's network, so you can see how the results are that way. Looks like both phones perform very well and very fast. Okay, so now I'm taking a look at the HTC One X. Everything's pretty much similar, everything in its operation, how it operates, not much changes here. There evidently was some small improvements to the camera that you won't notice on the back end that was found in the 4.04 update. Once again, really great pictures that I love with the X. The pictures do seem to be better, but maybe it's because I'm seeing them through a bigger screen. It's not much, it's very slight, but you can see here once again lots of yellows, lots of greens, but it takes great photos and it brings out the brightness very well. Let's take a look at video. Video, once again, I'm pretty sure these probably have the same internal build of camera. They both take really great video shots. You almost can't really notice the difference other than the fact that one screen is bigger than the other. Here's a low light shot. Of course, you can see here the colors pop. This is completely dark. It brought everything out and did very well in a shoot. Same thing with a low light video situation here. Performed very well at getting this stuff done. So yeah, both phones operated really, really well, and I think they're similar in comparison when it comes to the camera build. So you're probably not going to determine much between the two cameras, given as how they are that way. Okay, so the Motorola's got a great camera. It's got a really fast shutter. I really enjoy using it. It's fun to play with. For some reason, it just seems to be more responsive to the camera. It's got a great screen, of course, to work from. You've got your zoom in and out. You've got your area for your albums up here. It's got most of the same menu you'd find on an Android. You've got your settings here where you can do different things with shutters and stuff like that. You've got effects that you can take and add on here. You've got scenes that you can take and do. You've got modes that you can do. You've got exposure, and then you've got your flash you can control. And then what's nice is you can just swipe and get rid of this little adjustment bar here, which is really nice. And of course, you can get the focus and all that good stuff. Now you can easily switch between video and your shutter for your camera. You can easily switch from front to back, and you've got your shutter button here in both cases. It's a great little camera. I really enjoyed it. Let's take a look at some of the pictures we got. Now, one thing we really noticed about the camera, well, I'll get to that in a second. You can see here's a picture of a flower that we took. The light's a little rough during the day that we took that picture. Here's an outdoor picture that came out pretty well. Video-wise, the video comes out really well. Great blues, greens, everything is pretty much what it should be and how it works. Great camera. I mean, is it the best camera in the world? I'm not sure. You'd have to do some comparison testing, but it's a good camera. Now, this is one thing we always do. We always shoot my floor because some cameras jack up the yellow, blues, and greens to artificially adjust the brightness in the pictures and make them look like the pictures are cooler. This actually takes an accurate picture of the colors on my floor. What's even cooler is the video also takes an accurate picture also. So we're very impressed by that it's not having its software manipulating its colors. The low light pictures of camera, this is taken completely in the dark with the flash. You can see here it takes a great photo without blowing out the photo. One thing we were super impressed with, and I started talking about this earlier, is its low light lamp ability. It has a brilliant lamp on it that takes great dark pictures. This is completely in the dark, and you can see it does a great job of lighting up not only the local area really close, but pretty much the whole area that we were working in. So we were really surprised that something as thin and small has that great of a lamp. So really blown away. You can hear me say wow on the tape there. So yeah, great little camera on the Motorola. I was very impressed with it. Be sure to check that out on the deal. Okay, so all in all, in the end, I love both devices. They've got great different features between the screen, the speed, the animation, some of the fun things that really rock and roll with the Motorola Razr. They definitely have different things for different moods that you may take and have. It's really up to your choice as to which you feel is the better phone and which you feel will accomplish what you want. Some people don't like a bigger phone; they like a smaller phone that fits in their hands better. It's really up to you. You can get the AT&T HTC One X at AT&T.com. That's AT&T.com, and you can get the Motorola Razr M at Verizon Wireless. That's VerizonWireless.com. Be sure to tell them Chris Voss sent you. Thanks to those guys for supplying the phones for us. And be sure to subscribe to our channels, the Chris Voss Show channel on chrisvossshow.com, where you can get all of our emails, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel under Chris Voss. Thanks for coming by.